Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Spurs Up Show, the best Gamecocks podcast on the internet. Today is Thursday, May the 28th, 2020. On today's show, former Gamecocks right-handed pitcher Ethan Carter joins me in studio for an awesome interview. Ethan, a repeat guest on the show. You remember he was on the show in early February. We talk everything from South Carolina baseball, professional baseball, his life during quarantine, some awesome, hilarious stories from his time in Columbia as well. So sit back, relax, enjoy the interview. It's all brought to you by our friends over at SeatGeek. SeatGeek, the best ticket buying app by far, the only ticket buying app I use, and the only one I recommend. Go download the SeatGeek app or go to SeatGeek.com. Use the promo code SPURSUP. You're going to save $20 off your first purchase. Guys, quarantine's coming to an end. Sports are coming back. Sports are going to come back. Athletes are going to be allowed to come on campus within the next few weeks. There's going to be college football. I'm telling you right now, I'm injecting that optimism to you right now. There's going to be college football. And when it does happen, I'm hoping there's going to be fans. Whenever sports comes back, though, concerts, comedy club events, whatever it may be, you're going to need your tickets. SeatGeek is the way to go. They got a great ticket rating system, which rates the tickets for you based on the type of deal you're getting, guys. So never again do you even have to worry about scalping. You're never going to have to wonder, am I overpaying? Where am I sitting? What kind of deal am I getting? Is the person next to me paying less? What's going on with my tickets? SeatGeek has really changed the game in regards to how you buy your tickets, how you get your tickets, and you're going to have that peace of mind when you click the buy button. They're going to be able to let you just get your tickets, enjoy your experience. Again, take that pressure off of you. So, again, that's our friends at SeatGeek. Go download the SeatGeek app. Go to SeatGeek.com. Use the promo code SPURSUP. That's SPURSUP to save $20 off your first purchase. Let's get it. Joining me on the Spurs Up Show. He's been on the show once before. Very excited. Former Gamecocks right-handed pitcher Ethan Carter. Ethan, my friend.
What's going on, my man?
Coming in, dog.
Oh, yeah.
First question. Whenever I have guests in the studio, I always have the picture up. Do you know what game that's from? Is that College World Series?
No, that if I had to guess, I think that's Coastal.
Okay.
I think that's the
Makes
Supers.
sense.
I think
All right.
That's Super Regional at Coastal.
I was wondering before we got going. I was like, it doesn't look like College World Series, but
because I only threw in the one game, and that was at night.
Right.
Because I didn't get up for the Arizona State game.
Right.
And I think the rest of them were pretty much at least bled into the night.
Right.
Not all of them were supposed to go.
No,
into the
OU
night.
game, like a 2:00 first pitch. It finishes up at 9.
I was talking with my mother-in-law, my wife, about that game the other day, and I looked it up. And it was 1:00 first pitch. We did not finish until 10:22, and there was a game after us. I think TCU and them were supposed to be after us, and it was first. We were at the stadium.
You're probably thinking like this is the worst place on planet Earth, like Omaha. It's like let's get out of here.
We had to have been like we had to be the first game of the day because they weren't playing any morning games. So our first game of the day, so we got to get there early, do BP and everything.
Yeah.
So I say we got there about 11:00 at least. And so we were there. We were at that field. We were at Rosenblatt for a full 11, 12 hours.
Right.
And just cramped in that locker room because they wouldn't let you in the dugout. I mean, you could technically hang out there, but, we were at that stadium. Our first experience of Omaha, we were there for 11, 12 hours.
Jesus. So I'm going to switch up a little bit. What's as far as currently right now, we're all in quarantine, quote unquote, everything kind of getting back to normal, thankfully. Hopefully we're going to have MLB, but I know you're back to work. What's been the quarantine activities for you? Been like just hanging low or laying low or just?
Yeah, we so my wife, her job, she works for a big company and they had a confirmed case at their building.
Oh, wow.
So that was beginning of March. And so I, went to my boss and was like, hey, it's nowhere near her, but their building's being sent home. So I was like, I'm going to, be out because I only have 3-4 people in my office. So I was like, well, we're just going to, be at home. So so I think we started our first day of quarantine like March 13th. And then I just got back into the office 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And, was making a good, run of it, working, able to actually do some workouts, not coming home at 6:00 at night and just being tired and not wanting to do anything. Take a lunch break, go up to the track, start running. So We made the best of it. You know, when she's still working from home. Like I said, I'm back in the office, but it's definitely been been an experience to say the least.
I want to ask you this. It's kind of a funny question, but just thinking back to when you were at Carolina, obviously, and I mean, there hasn't been a run of sports success like that since. I mean, every sport. Does it correlate at all to the amount of 5 Points visits? Because, hear me out on this, it's like baseball had you and other guys, many other guys, but we won't name them. Football had Garcia, literally led by the party king himself. Basketball had their guys. I feel like now it's like we have a lot of good guys, but does it correlate? I mean, do you need that balance? I mean, I don't get what's going on. Like,
I think there's always room for a good work to social life balance.
I mean, it is like play hard, work hard, play hard. It's like that was the 2010 to 13. That was the motto. Like,
and shout out to these guys. There's so much social media with videos.
Yeah.
And everything.
It's like impossible now to do what.
I mean, when I was there, I think that was really when I first got there, the only person with a Twitter account was Whit,
right.
And we gave Whit crap for that. Right. And then by 2011, then it was like, okay, everybody's got a Twitter account now. Right. And then the next year we had the Snapchat, and it just
it blew up.
It kept building little by little. So people's time spent there, I'm sure, went down. And it's great. I mean, you'd go out and you'd see, if you went to certain spots,
right?
Yeah, you'd run into, football. You'd run into somebody that just, made a game-winning, play 2 weeks ago,
right?
And now, it's Thursday night and they're out here, enjoying Thirsty Thursday right. Like the rest of us. Yeah. So, but no, I mean, I think there's got to be some kind of, you can't be serious all the time,
right?
And so I think that was a lot of guys blew off steam that way, and I've heard other guys on here talk. We definitely weren't all kumbaya, all 35 of us, right. All the time, but yeah, man, you could easily, get a good group of us out and right. just, and not even go together, but right. end up, being out there with the team and, good team building stuff.
For sure. And I know you and Tanner had a very interesting relationship. And we talked about it before last time you were on here, but tell the story you were telling me about. He calls you in, catches you up during during BP, that conversation. Yeah. So we're doing BP. It's before one of the inner squads, and I was always on home. So all the pitchers have duties right.
that we've got to do during BP because we're obviously not hitting. So you got, your guys on the bucket, you've got guys in the gaps, shagging, backing up the outfielders because Coach Tanner's I never thought of. He was real big on guys getting live reads off bats during BP. Right, yeah. So, pitchers kind of stay out the way, and then you have home run duty guys. I volunteered to be on home run duty as much as I could. You just sit up there.
Chilling, kicking it.
You hang out, as long as you're not sitting down,
right.
You still could still do that sometimes if you got the right seat, but just hanging out. And this was after I'd gotten back. So this is the fall of 2011,
right.
But going to 2012 season. And so Coach Tanner had me on a little bit tighter leash. And he saw me, waddling up there to go get on home run duty. And he called me over and he's like, I'm not going to let you keep screwing off up there. You're going to catch me up today. So he's sitting there just hitting fungos. And he, we had so when I first got there, when the team's being put together, you got 35 spots. Well, we only had 40, 42 guys coming right. out for the team. By that year, I think we had 55 guys.
Because of the success, basically.
I mean, we had so many walk-ons,
right.
guys that wanted to walk on.
Right.
So we were up to about 50, 55 guys. And so you got to
That's a lot of guys. That's a lot of guys.
I think that's 20 guys that got to,
get cut,
yeah. Be told to gray shirt, red shirt, however
right.
they want to define that. So he's hitting fungos, and one of the guys, had a tough day, and he just looks at me and he goes, "Not gonna make it." And at the time, Coach Tanner is always one to to make a crack, make a wisecrack or something like that. So I thought nothing of it. Yeah,
sure enough, he's
sure enough he was not back in the fall. He went on to play somewhere else. But yeah, no, that that really struck me. I was like, oh man, he's serious right now. So let me go ahead and tighten back up a little bit, because I was a walk on that year. Yeah. There wasn't any scholarship money left for me, so I was walking on, and I was like, oh, this has gotten serious now. There's a lot of people here, a lot of good ball players.
I've asked other guys you've played with about this, but is it weird to see, because Tanner's obviously in a whole different role now. Is it weird to see your former head coach? It's like, because when you think of him, I mean, you think of the baseball side of him, it's like, I mean, elite, like winner, national champion. To see him getting the heat he's getting now, like, is that weird? Like, is that a weird feeling? It's like, Coach, what are you doing? Like,
it's definitely weird, and I feel for him, because I mean, that's you go from being world class at one thing.
His winning percentage in college at Carolina, I think, was like .720, and I'm just like, that's insane.
Yeah, I mean, you go from being world class something for 2+ decades, and then you are thrust into a position after, like we were just talking about, after the university-wide athletic success of that 5 to 7 year period,
right?
And now you've got to try to build upon that. And yeah, it's been, like I said, me and Coach Tanner didn't always have the greatest relationship. But yeah, man, that's tough seeing him take that heat and really have to be out in the forefront when things are going tough, because the only tough times I guess he had was some postseason stuff, but at the end of the day, only one team can win every year,
right?
So I wouldn't even call that as tough times. I know he hated to lose, but I know, it's eating him up a little bit to not be able to do more. Yeah. So that's a job where I'll put it this way: he is much better than our former AD, Mr. Hyman, who I definitely did not have the greatest relationship with. But
he was kind of a hard ass, from what I've heard. Like, he was.
Yeah, Mr. Hyman was not a favorite amongst everybody. That's for sure. And I think we saw some things play out with him at Texas A&M and his other stops to show that he wasn't all perfect. No, not at all.
I want to get your take on just Carolina baseball in general. Like, what do you think the minimum? Because I think it's funny with Tanner. I remember specifically after 2009, they lost the regional at ECU, and people were saying that, does Tanner have it still? Like, they haven't made Omaha since 2004. Yeah. Like, it's, it'd been a while for Carolina baseball. That had been a while, because once you get to that level, people don't want to go backwards.
No, sir. No. Once you're up top, that air's fresh. And
I always joke with people, and especially the guys that were on those teams, like, for 13 to like 19 or 18 is like a blur. Like, people don't even remember it hardly. Like, I joked with, Adam Matthews about like 12. I'm like, how does it feel to be on the team that made the national championship that nobody even remembers? Like, you don't even see highlights on YouTube of them, like, because they didn't win it all. It's like people like it's crazy how it's not, I don't even know the word I'm looking for, but it doesn't measure as far as, like, if they'd won it all 3 years in a row, it'd be so celebrated, but it's not even mentioned for getting there. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't equal out. There's something's like missing there. You know what I mean? Like,
so it's funny because I tell people when I went to school or whatever, and I always have to mention, they went to 3 straight college.
People forget that 12
finals.
They forget that 12.
Yeah, not even 3 College World Series appearances in a row, 3 finals appearances in a row. It's always been interesting because, like you said, Coach Tanner was taking some heat there at the end, and I know a lot of that had to do with the caliber of players they had. They had Smoke, Darnell, Disher,
the murderers row. I mean,
and when when those guys didn't go as far as because I know they made that super 1 year against Georgia, correct?
Yeah, hits
five
home,
straight home runs.
That was 06. Yeah.
Yep, 06. So, I know you made the supers, but you didn't get further than that.
Right.
And those are the things that I am just surprised that 12 doesn't have a few moments like that. That now the 5 straight home runs in a row. I mean, that's
unprecedented. Yeah.
But still, I mean, there's no real moments. I mean, and of the World Series winners, maybe it's just a fluky year with Arizona, because when you think of past winners, I mean, we remember it because we were in the finals with them, but I feel like Arizona gets overlooked.
Right.
On that.
I mean, outside of Ref Snyder, I can't name another player they have.
No.
Like really.
And those teams, or that team in particular, just seems to be forgotten. Everybody remembers our back-to-back. They remember the Vandy run, the UVA run.
UCLA winning their first one.
All those, Coastal, you got all these. And Arizona's just kind of the forgotten one, which is even weird for them because, had a few things gone different, 12, there'd be some journalism or, communications student would be working on doing a Last Dance type documentary about the 2010 through 2012 South Carolina Gamecocks.
I mean, what's weird is I can't even remember a game from the 12 run hardly. I can't even hardly remember a game, like a single game.
I remember some of the World Series because I was actually visiting friends in Atlanta that were Carolina alums, and I was at a bar in Buckhead watching. So I remember some of that, but that's just kind of the forgotten year. And I don't know what it was. That might have been also a year that home runs were down because of the bats and everything. So that just wasn't as much excitement or attention. But that I wish I had an answer for that, because maybe that was the thing. Maybe there wasn't just a Bauer or a Perk, a Matthew Perk, or someone, or even a larger than life guy like Roth, that just had this, thing about him. There just weren't enough of those type players.
Well, that's the crazy thing. Roth was on that team, and Walker.
Yeah.
Walker was on that team. I mean, Matthews was still there. And that's when you had I think Joey Pancake had just gotten there.
Yeah, no,
Griner had gotten there as a freshman. They had a ton of Tanner English, I think, had just gotten there.
They were all freshmen.
Right.
Yeah. Because I remember the VMI series, first series of the year. I came in bases loaded and gave up a hard shot to left, and Tanner English threw a guy out the plate from left field. First, I guess it would have been Saturday. So, second collegiate game, and Tanner English is out there hosing guys.
He was a speed demon, man. So fast.
But that, because I remember having conversations with some of the freshmen, especially after 10, because Nini drilled this into me, living with them. But we had a smaller recruiting class in 11, and we told those guys, y'all did not win the World Series.
Right.
Y'all, we have a chance to go win one.
Right.
But it was real hard and I think some of these classes, after that really struggled with wanting to be –
feeling a sense of entitlement almost. But
yeah, I couldn't have said any better.
Right.
They want to be a part of this tradition that, was well earned by unreal players like Christian, like Marzilli, Nini, Wingo, all those guys. But they ain't done shit.
Right.
They haven't done anything yet. And some of those guys went on to have really good careers, and I thoroughly enjoyed watching a lot of those young guys. But I think it's something our football program has struggled a little bit with after the Spurrier years. It's all well and good to be a part of this thing that we all love, and we all we love being Gamecocks. We love being Gamecock fans. But especially with being an athlete, I think, there's just a sense of we've made it.
Right.
So we're good. We've gotten to this point now.
Right.
hey man, where is there left to go? You know, we're part of a college World Series program,
and I think that's the scary thing for me and a lot of fans is like, that's all great and dandy, but it's like every year you get farther away from that. So, you know, I was telling a buddy, I'm like, you know, speaking for football, all the sports, like 10 years from now, I don't want to be watching the same highlights. Like, you know, I mean, I still want to remember them and be able to watch them, but like, I want to be able to watch the College World Series from 22 when we win it all. Like, or I want to watch football win the SEC. Like, I want the SEC East, no offense, to be like a footnote. You know what I mean? Like, you want to just keep going up. And I think people with Carolina baseball right now, I mean, we all know it's a strange times with the men's sports, and you know, it's just none of the men's sports can really figure it out. And I guess that's what I was asking in the beginning is just like, what do you think because I mean, listen, fans have some unrealistic expectations as far as like, you know, after Kingston lost Game 3 at Arkansas, they want him fired, and it's just like, dude, you can't go to Omaha every year. No. But I'm one that believes, you know, listen, like 2017 Holbrook's last year. You know, Will Crow gets hurt, Clark Schmidt gets hurt, Tyler – like, okay, there are going to be weird years where everything goes against you. It's just baseball. But, like, you never have an excuse in my mind to miss the postseason. Like, that's never acceptable. Like, there's too much talent. The facilities are too good. The fan support is too good. It should never happen. It should never happen, in my opinion.
No, and to go back to your original thing, you don't – you know – that Clowney hit's fun to watch,
right?
But you know, I want to see I want to see Javon Kinlaw, like you said, hoisting up a trophy or you know playing in a meaningful game past.
Right. It's just it's annoying to be like on Twitter in 2020 being like Throwback Thursday to 2011. It's like,
dude. And I will say, I mean that run with Kingston and those guys, and so that would have been 18. Correct?
Yep.
I mean that was unbelievable because. New coach, new everything. You know, those guys seem to really rally, you know, around a new voice. And, you know, I know it's not as hard in college because the turnover is so great. You know, you're getting new players every year and, you know, turning them over. But to have a consistent, you know, or have it hearing that same message every year, and guys by like year 3 are like, all right, we've got it. Like, we understand. So I think those guys really, really took hold to a new voice, and it's, you know, it's funny because that might be not the worst thing that happened to Coach Kingston, you know, everything in perspective, but being a game away from Omaha in your first year.
Yeah, it's like you really set the bar. It's like, all right, we got to go to Omaha this next year.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the thing. You know, you're a game away from Omaha, you know, in your first year, and everybody's like, well, now by year 2, we should be, you know, playing in a finals.
Right. People don't, and you know, I'll say this too, is like, speaking almost back to that 12 team, is that, you know, I mean, you've been on a team that did it. I've just watched it from afar, but people just don't realize how hard it is to get to Omaha. It's so tough.
The breaks
so tough.
The breaks that have to happen.
Right.
I mean, you know,
people, because I remember there was an article. I don't know if you remember this. I think it was either, not to slight these guys, but it was either Aaron Fitt or Rogers with D1 baseball. But basically, it was when Holbrook got let go, or he, you know, whatever happened. We all know what happened. It was a separation. Either way, it was an article about him basically saying, you know, Chad Holbrook was doomed from the start. You know, the run that was made, it was you know, a lot of talent, but a lot of luck as well. And I remember I was like, bro, those teams were good. Don't insult them by saying they got lucky.
Yeah.
But a lot of people thought that because of, like you said, I mean, so many things have to go your way. Like, the ball has to bounce your way so many times.
You got to get the right rain out.
But I argue that the best teams make their own luck too.
Yeah. No, I mean
you don't get lucky and hit a 3-2 fastball to the right side and tie the game against Oklahoma. You don't, you know. Scott Wingo, he's good. Like, maybe did he get a look, but those plays against Florida, he's good.
Yeah,
like,
No, I mean those type plays that you see Scott, you know, doing you know, your weekly inner squad, you know, those. So my whole thing, while yes, there are definitely breaks, but you train and practice and everything to put yourself in the position to capitalize when those breaks come.
Right.
There's just I think I mentioned this last time I was on. I just never understood it that we were this ragtag group that first year. And it's like when we had our meeting and, our first meeting as a team, first thing we talked about was Omaha.
Right.
There was no win the SEC, win the East. Our goal from the beginning was Omaha. So to be labeled as this under,
right.
this
the Cinderella story
group,
type
it's
thing.
Like, we probably should have been, if we played in SoCon, we would have been the national seed instead of Coastal.
Right.
Like we were a game away from winning the East and finishing second to whoever won the conference that year. Probably was Arkansas, but we weren't like just this out of nowhere team.
Right.
But there's things that happen throughout a season where, you've got to kind of will it yourself.
Right.
But it's that Bucknell game. We'd come off, we lost the series.
That was the first game of the regional, right?
First
at
game
home?
of the regional. At home, we'd come off. So our previous 2 weeks before that were losing 2 out of 3 to Florida, watching them dogpile on our field.
Yeah.
2-Q SEC tournament.
Yeah, Hoover is not a friendly spot for Carolina baseball.
So
for whatever reason.
We lost 4 out of our last 5.
Right.
And we're down early to Bucknell.
Yeah.
And
like,
we hadn't hit, our hitters went through a cold spot and had not gotten a hit, and or hadn't strung a bunch of hits together and friends. It was not looking good.
Right.
And then we got a rain delay. And we kind of went into that room.
That was the rally stick or whatever.
We went
Spirit stick.
Avatar had just come out, and we shut all the lights off, and we sat in a circle, and we were like, "Let's get weird, guys. Let's figure something out. We can't keep playing tight. We can't keep trying to live up to these expectations and let them drown us." And then we went on.
Do you feel like those expectations were, I guess you can't say as high because dreams of a national championship. Now it's a reality, but the expectations were definitely Omaha for Carolina baseball at that point. Yes. It was like, okay, it's time to get back.
Yep.
It
was
because at that point the tradition for Carolina baseball was the 02 team, the 04 team, and then they didn't make it, but the Murderers Row group, those guys. It was like the standard is Omaha, basically.
Yes. I've always felt from the moment I visited to then I committed, then I was on campus, it was, this is a program built to go to Omaha.
Right.
It will happen, sometimes things will happen and it won't work out, but the goal is to put yourselves in a position to be ready for Omaha.
Right.
And that then if if you're lucky enough to put yourself in that situation, then you've got to go out and do it.
Right.
And I think that's I get the fans that's the frustrating part, that you keep getting further away, and you're not seeing yourself regularly put in these spots.
Right.
And that, when you do get in the spot, then it's just so magnified because you haven't been there as much recently. And I think that really takes a toll, especially as a fan,
Right.
When you do get it, then you're so jacked up, and then it goes away, and like, well, now I got another 5-6 years before I get to do this again.
Right.
And I think that's kind of where Coach Kingston really wants to get the program back to. Right. Is, all right, we're a game 3. We're, a double down the line to start the inning. Right. From winning that game 3.
Right.
Versus, all right, well, now we're kind of trying to scratch and claw just to get them into somebody's regional.
Right.
Because we should always be hosting.
Yeah.
I think that's how I look at it. I never, even, 09, I know they didn't host, but I think they were the 2 seed in that ECU regional. Mm-hmm. But I never had any other thought than we're hosting. Right. We're going to be good enough to host.
Right.
That should always happen.
It's like a given. It feels like it should feel like a given.
Yep.
And
it's just
it should be. If you don't host, it's kind of a bad year. I mean, really, like if you don't host, you better 18. You better find a way. Swept through the regional and get to the super. Fight to get to
And I saw that clip. I forgot who you actually had on that was talking about that team. But I saw a clip, and that was one of the most badass things. And I just
they didn't dogpile.
When they just shook hands, I was like, "That's what I'm talking about."
Yeah.
That is how you approach this as being a part of this program.
Yeah,
that's how you approach.
You don't dogpile when you win a region.
Nope,
you just don't.
It's cool. We're moving on to the next thing.
Right.
And I know that was a team that didn't have guys that had been a part of something like that. So the fact that it was known by them, hey, act like we've been here before. We may not have, but we know this program has.
Right.
That was just one of the coolest, things as a fan to watch, because ECU had gotten to somewhere and they dogpiled, and that was a big thing for their program. And you saw some other places do it, and that group that really did just kind of battled their way through a season, a transition season. That was one of the cooler things that I witnessed as a fan. I miss seeing those guys, really love the pressure, I guess.
Right.
And I think there's just been, guys trying to get used to playing under that kind of spotlight.
Right.
And, it seems like they're starting to figure it out a little bit.
Yeah. And, obviously it's a shame we didn't get to watch, even with the early struggles this year we talked about. I thought this year's team had some potential, but what I tell people is, like, they ask me, like, because like I said, we're in a funny place right now, because you could make the argument, not saying I'd agree with it, but you could make the argument Kingston, Muschamp, and Martin could all be gone at any point. Basically, they're all replaceable. Nobody's Tanner or Spurrier or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it's all pop. They're all reaching that point in their coaching tenures where it's like, if you don't win, we could replace you.
Yeah.
But what I tell people, and the thing is like, Carolina baseball, I'm like, it's going to make it easy for me, because people want to know my opinion on Kingston. I like Kingston. I think he's a baseball dude. Like, it's unfortunate because I think this team this year could have made some noise, at minimum made the postseason. Like, I think that was very possible. And next year we'll see what happens. But I tell people, I'm like, I don't have to go on a rant about Kingston, because he's either going to win and stay or he's going to lose and leave. Like, it's not like Carolina football where – I'm sorry, but calling a spade, there's not a lot of tradition. So, if you win 7 games, you had a good year.
Yeah. No.
Versus, Carolina, it's just like, dude, if we don't get back to the regionals at least, like, there's no defending. It's just it's a very black and white thing. There's no gray area. You're either going to win or you're not. And if you don't, you're probably going to be looking for a new job.
Oh, yeah. And
because Kingston doesn't have the benefit of, like, it's not like we went and hired Kevin O'Sullivan. He's like a legend, or we didn't go, you know what I'm saying? Like, Kingston's an unknown. He's very much a wild card. So if he doesn't win, it's going to be very quick. People are going to say, oh, he just wasn't built for this job. Like, it's too big for him, which, I don't necessarily think that. Like, I like the approach he's taking as far as, like, they're bringing in a lot of JUCO. He's doing, like, a lot what Tanner did. Like, they're bringing in a lot of JUCO guys that are helping. No doubt are helping immediately. Farr and Jordan. You had 2 of 3 in your weekend rotation. JUCO.
I'm
Brian and Bowen.
Guys.
Yeah, Brian, Bowen, Beaver. Those guys all ready to go. And they're going to continue to do that. But fans are impatient. But just switching gears a little bit, I'll ask you. I probably asked you the last time you were on the show, but were you surprised that Holbrook didn't work out? Like, did you? Because I remember talking again. We talked about Kumis, really good buddy of mine. And I remember talking to him about it. He was like, oh, I just expect to keep winning. Why wouldn't we? He was on those teams. But were you surprised? Like, did you expect, like, when he got the job that, okay, we might not be as good as we were? Like, it's going to be a different dynamic.
So I knew there'd be a different dynamic. Coach Holbrook and Coach Tanner I think they complement each other pretty well.
Right.
And I loved Coach Holbrook. I knew there'd be a transition, and just trying to figure out because a coach always wants to differentiate himself from the person that he's replaced, and I think that's a lot harder to do when you're just being promoted to a role within the same place. I know early on, a lot of those guys saw assistant coach Holbrook
right
versus manager Holbrook. Right. And I think that dynamic and going from, the number 2 spot to being in the number 1 spot, I don't think I'd expect it to go downhill the way it did.
Right.
I thought there'd be a little bit of a dip.
Just because it's you're not going to make Omaha every year.
So I knew there was going to be some dip, some transition. But Coach Holbrook, God, he's such a good recruiter. I just thought that after a couple years, I thought, by the, second, third year, it would start to trend back up towards, all right, well, this is – we're going to be here, to make noise again. Yeah. And it seemed to just hit that snag, and it was hard to separate. I know for the fans, it's hard to separate. Like you were saying, he's part of the program. Why isn't this the same? Why is, we've done nothing except move one person, right. Why can't this be what it was? And
I think that's another thing that bit him too. Was I think he did bring in talent. Like you look at, Jordan Montgomery, Tanner English, Pancake,
Will Crow,
Clark Schmidt, those guys. Yeah, so they brought in talent, but it was, and I was talking. It was Matt Williams. It was on. I think he was one of the guys. He was on one of that team in 2018 at ECU, but he was talking. We were talking about Holbrook, and I was like, dude, I think the thing that killed Holbrook the most was, 16 you had a pretty good year. You got back to the postseason, but dude, 17 there was just so much hype. They were 4th in the country preseason, and people were saying, which looking back, I'm like, you shouldn't. It's almost like you shouldn't disrespect the great team. You just could, because you shouldn't say like, oh, this is the best pitching staff in the hit. Let's see what happens. Yeah, but on paper, Clark Schmidt, Will Crow, Adam Hill. Schmidt's going to be in the Yankees rotation soon. Will Crow's probably going to be in the Nationals rotation or at the big league level. But I was like, that's what killed him, man. It's not even just that they missed the postseason. Because I remember saying after that year, too, you missed the postseason. You were 4th in the country in the preseason.
Yep,
and it's just like, it just can't happen. It just can't happen. Like
it seemed, like you said, there's some injury things that it's hard to – you can't play against injuries. Right. Yeah, it was one of those things where everyone was so excited about that team. And they had every right to be. Like you said, those guys, and then Tyler Johnson was still on that team, correct? Yep. So, the pieces were there, and I don't know, LT was on that team. Just guys that have been playing, some high-level ball.
Yeah, Hunter Taylor, Chris Cullen, Justin Rowe, Matt Williams. There were some names. I think Destino may have gone to 16, but either way, no, they had some sticks.
And I just think, I don't know whether expectations swallowed them up,
right,
or if it was just all injury things. But one thing that separates the good teams from, just your average team is that when you hit when you hit that slick spot, you got to be able to drive out of it.
Right.
Because if you don't, it does. Baseball is one of those games, you play 55 plus games, and you're at the ballpark every day. You're playing 4 to 5 times a week. And man, when you're losing, there's nowhere else you want to be.
Right.
You do not. You're just like, God, we got to go back again today. And
it'll eat you alive. It'll eat you up.
At SC, I was lucky enough. We had that rough spot my freshman year, where we lost the back-to-back series to Clemson and ECU, but we didn't have too many of those. Now, I played on some teams where we were bad, man. I played on a Lewisburg team that we finished like 6th on the conference, and you just show up some days, and it's like anywhere else but here. Like, just I'll go work in the cornfield for 6 hours.
Yeah.
Get me out of this place.
My freshman year at Newberry, I think we went like 18-37.
So
man, hard to show up to the park,
So and then on top of that, preseason top 5 team.
Yeah.
And once it went wrong, I don't know whether there was just it'd been so easy for so long that they didn't really know how to battle that adversity.
Right.
But it seemed like once it went fast. And it's hard to stop that runaway train on a bad season.
Right.
And then, like you said, at once it hits a certain point, it's like, well, we really aren't going to make the playoffs. Or we're really not going to see postseason play. We might not make the SEC tournament. Like, then you're just like, all right, well, we'll get out here, we'll play the game, and we'll leave.
Right.
It turns into more of a job than you're actually having fun with it.
Right.
And that's hard. That's a hard thing to battle through.
Yeah, I was going to say that 10 Clemson series, the White Hats, RIP.
I was so upset, man.
What was the final, like 19-6 or something?
I think it was 16-8 or something like that. Because that was the thing. We had scored a couple runs. It wasn't like we had. It wasn't like it was like 20-0, and we But man, I got a great story about that game. It's obviously the game with the White Hats.
Right.
And everybody pitched. It was one of those games where
Johnny Holstaff,
and there was only 2 guys left in the pen. And it was me and Greg Harrison, 2 freshmen. Greg was going to redshirt that year. And Greg did end up redshirting because Greg went on to went to Spartanburg Methodist and then had a pretty
19-6, by the way.
19-6.
You want to go to the stats?
Oh yeah, no, go ahead and read. I guarantee you, at least 9 guys threw that game.
Let's see. Yeah, let's see. So Webb started, didn't get out of the second. It was Webb, Neff, Brown, Taylor, Burrell, Sullivan, Holmes, Mata. Like the entire staff, basically.
So Greg Harrison is redshirting this year,
right?
But it's early on, so everybody dresses.
Right.
And Greg was throwing a pen.
Right.
And Greg, he was throwing a bullpen. He was, getting his side work in. They called down to the bullpen and was like, "Who's hot?" And like, "Well, Harrison's throwing." And they're like, "Tell him if his next batter gets on, he's in." And I just turned to Greg. I was like, "You're on, Bubba." And they, who was the last name? Mata got the last out, and thankfully we're going. But yeah, it was Greg Harrison was very close to not or being just thrust into a game.
Yeah. Chris Epps tore us up that game. 5 ribbies.
I played indie ball with Chris.
Richie Schaefer, 3 ribbies. We all know he was good. He was nasty.
Richie, South Charlotte Panther guy.
Yeah. Richie Schaefer was nasty. But yeah, that was the end of the White Hat era.
So
I used to love how I thought that was cool too, how Tanner, like, obviously after 10 and 11, like I think it just got the traditional pinstripes and the Yankee grays. Because I was wondering, I was like, it's kind of weird we never won. I don't think South Carolina ever wore a different jersey in any College World Series game. There was no alternate. It never wore alternates. Like because I say low key, my favorite jersey is the black with the garnet writing. Like that's an awesome alternate. I just think black, when you can wear it and it's one of your colors, is a cool uniform. But I used to love how Tanner would switch it up with like the garnet with the white writing, and you guys had the gray tops with the garnet bill and the gray pin. That was a great look.
So
there's many cool looks.
I'm partial to the Yankee grays.
Oh, I mean, those are fire. Those are fire. Yeah,
but I really love the home white and blacks. I love those.
Yeah,
because we got to wear the hat you're wearing with those.
Right.
I love those.
So that was when it was the black jersey with the white writing.
No,
right?
This was all white.
Oh yeah, okay.
And then you had the black pipe.
Oh yeah,
black
okay,
pipe down the side
with the SC on the. Yeah,
I love those jerseys. And then we had those. So at one point during that year, we got hot wearing the garnet tops.
Sunday Garnets.
And we wore those damn garnet tops 15 games straight, man. I kid you not. I was like, can we please lose? I was like, this is awesome. I love it, but damn, I don't want to wear these garnet tops.
You didn't like the garnet tops?
I just loved all our uniforms.
Right,
I mean,
right,
we had
yeah.
so many good.
Switch it up.
We had so many good options, and I'm sitting here like, man, I really want to wear these white and black unis, or I really want to throw on the pinstripes again.
Right. That's what I'll tell you. That's what killed me. And I'm not trying to knock Kingston, but that first year we were wearing the pinstripes on a Tuesday, and I'm just like, Coach, you can't wear the Friday night pins on Tuesday. Like, that's absurd. You can't do that.
I did like the gray. I like the gray pinstripes or the gray jerseys with garnet pinstripes.
Yeah, those are fire.
Cool.
Those are fire.
The daggone Georgia picture of me hooting and hollering.
Right.
Those are that unis.
Is there any team? To me, Georgia's got the worst. Their unis are terrible. They're so bad. They don't have a baseball logo, and they still – I feel like their jerseys are they may not be, but they look like they're still like the mesh. They're like so old, like it's just so plain and bland, like especially with how good they are now. I'm like, y'all can't get any better unis. Like,
so that
Tennessee's used to be terrible too. They used to have awful. They used to be like a laughing stock in baseball. Now they're actually – I was telling somebody I missed the days when you guys were there and Georgia sucked. I was like, I love that.
Yeah, all right.
Now they got 4 guys throwing 98.
I'm from Virginia, and I was ACC country.
Yeah, and UVA's nasty.
So I didn't know. I knew about SEC. I obviously knew SEC baseball. All these hitters, ballparks are great. All that. I was so underwhelmed when I went to Georgia.
Foley Field?
I was so underwhelmed. Because I was kind of pumped because I was like, okay, Georgia, because around the time, the smoke years, they were pretty good during that time. So I was like, yeah, man, I'm pumped up to go to Georgia. Like, yeah, let's do this. And I got there. I was so underwhelmed. I was like, this place sucks. Like, just compared to the other stadiums we had been to, Auburn was – I don't think Auburn gets enough credit the way theirs is set up.
I think it's because nobody thinks of them as a baseball school.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, nobody thinks baseball first.
I just love they had the parking garage like right next to the field, so you had people hanging out in the parking garage watching the game. And then I was there when we went to Vandy. It was before they've redone everything, so Vandy's got all the turf now and everything. But I thought Vandy was a cool place. Craziest place, Arkansas, though. Hands down. I never got to play at the box, so I can't.
Arkansas fans are crazy from what I hear, though. I mean, I've had – because it's so funny here you say that, and I've had heard other guys from then say that, and I'm asking guys that played on that 18 team. They're like, oh, Arkansas,
hands
nuts.
Down, man.
They're nuts.
They're so fun. I mean, I've never,
I heard Matthews was getting ripped in left field at Arkansas.
So good. So I'm on home run balls with Price. And on the road, the etiquette is first couple rounds, you need all the baseball back because we got to have them for the whole series. Right. But by group 4, which is normally, that's the group where you just put the big bashers that are, the pinch hitters and DHs. Right. And then they just hit home runs. Right. So by group 4, you can let kids have the baseballs. So we're there, and the way Arkansas is set up, they've got like this grass area behind left field where people like grill out and like have their cool. Like you can bring a cooler into this spot. And this guy rolls up with his cooler, and he goes, "How you doing, boys? I just want to welcome you to Arkansas." I'm like, "Thank you very much." And he just walks right past up. Adam Matthews, I hope you're ready to party. And I was like, oh my God, what did we just walk into? This Friday night. And I'm like, oh goodness. And so later the BP round, somebody hit a home run and the little kids are out there running for it and everything. And kid picked, I was like, hey bud, I got to get that back. I'll make sure I get you one, by then, but I got to get that back now. Kid gave it up. Man, he went over there, And their parents came straight like, "What are you doing taking a ball from a kid?" I'm like, "Whoa, let's
don't shoot
down,
the
guys.
messenger."
And so I was like, "Man, we are in for." And at that time, we never won a series at Arkansas. We were 0 whatever.
And that y'all swept that weekend, right? That was because I've had other guys say that was the weekend where it's like, yeah, we're pretty good.
So it is.
We're pretty because they were ranked like top 10.
They were good.
Yeah.
Dice, because that was what year? What team? Who did they have on that team? I can't even remember. But Dyson was unreal Saturday night. Yeah, pulled that. Dyson's Saturday against Arkansas.
Yeah, because that was late in the year. 3-2, 5-0, 5-3.
Yeah, that 5-0. That Dyson was lights out that night. It was.
He pitched a complete game,
dude.
6 hits, no earned, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts.
So
123 pitches.
So Sam had battled elbow problems that whole year.
Right.
Sam, the year before, I'm hearing Dyson 98, 99,
right,
all this, and I got there. He didn't throw it all in the fall.
Right.
He barely threw preseason. I mean, he's like 91, 92, and I'm like, this dude's good, but this isn't what's
right.
Dude, that game, and I've lived with Dyson for a little bit, so I got to know him a little bit. But that game right there, I was like, oh, that's the one that everybody's like, oh yeah, this guy's a top 5 rounder. And I'm like, okay, got to see that. Yeah, he was unreal. And then so Sunday comes out and we're beating them again. And their fans are just finally like, you know what? Who cares? Let's cheer for you guys. And so they like gave us some mock cheers and stuff. But no, that was Arkansas. I mean, it's I always thought of it. It's like Founders Park, except that you have all those suites
right
all the way down the line.
Right.
And it is just those people are there. They don't leave. I don't care what the score is. They are there. And that's I love South Carolina. I love Gamecock. I love everything about it. But that was one of the most frustrating things when I was there is that packed house for the first 3 innings. Yeah. And then by about inning 5, all the people. Now I say all. We had great fans and a lot of people stayed, but significant portions of the crowd would roll out by like the 5th inning.
Yeah, and
it's like, what are we doing, guys?
Well, I mean, a lot of people don't know. I mean, this year I'd put up like a Instagram story or whatever from Founders Park. I would have, no joke, at least 3 to 4 former players, some that played with you, some a little bit after. At least 3 to 4, maybe like 6 or 7 guys hit me up and be like, "Yo, where's everybody at? Everybody's like, where's everybody at?" And just like, I mean, even and again, this isn't like bashing the fans, but it's like even opening day, even Friday night at Clemson, it was like the stands weren't full, and you're like, "Where's everybody at?"
And I understand some of the early season stuff, especially Fridays. The game started at 4. It's hard.
It's opening day.
That's the thing. It's opening day. I mean, this happens once a year.
Right. I get like the streaming has definitely hurt it. Like all college sports are suffering attendance wise because, 2010 you couldn't watch a game. Like you couldn't. You had to go. But
you were on the local. I forget what the local channel is down here, but. You were on when you played your midweeks. You were on that,
right? Or 107.5 the game or whatever.
Yeah, you're on that stuff because it was College of Charleston and Furman and those kind of schools. So in-state, in-state buzz. So we were on it, but you couldn't find our Saturday Mississippi State game.
Right.
There's no way you were watching that.
Right.
And now.
You can watch everything. You can watch every game.
We were talking before we got on, and I was like, I watch more games this season just having the ESPN app. Me and my wife, we cut the cord, so I pay for ESPN that $5.99, but we don't have channels to flip through, so it was very easy for me to just come home, put it on the ESPN app, pull the game up, and I watched so many games this year. But you couldn't do that. 10, 11, kind of 12, I guess, it started to pick up. But, and I know that plays a part in it with the fans. But it's like, there's just certain things that's like, why, where are you at?
Yeah.
Well, why aren't you here? What is it? What is that's keeping you from here? And I've seen people respond to the Twitter account of, the Spurs Up show. And it's like, well, they need to start winning.
Right.
And it's like, this isn't a below 500 program by all means. You can't come to the parade without coming to the games before the parade. It's that backwards thinking always blows my mind.
Well, it's always funny because when I was we did the thing with Bobby Haney watching the 10 replay, and everybody was watching that. I feel like everybody was watching, but the thing that made me laugh, and like you look back at any sport, but it's like people forget the hard times. Like when they're like, oh, the 2010 season, like people think you guys just won every game, and it's like, I mean, I'm watching the game too, and I'm like, we all talk about like the legend of Matt Price is like untouchable. I'm like, God, I kind of forgot he struggled there for like 5-6 batters. So people forget that. You don't think of the bad times. You know what I mean? Like, but they're definitely there.
So I know you text me, and I had about 4 or 5 other friends, send me that picture of me looking very uninterested in the bullpen. Yeah. And it was more like, nah, I just been throwing for the last inning and a half.
Right.
And I'm like, all right, and I'm glad they did, because Matt shut that thing down, but it got to the point where it's like,
you had to get 2 guys hot just in case. But
either sit me down or, let's make a move here.
Right.
I kid you not, man, I probably threw pitch for pitch with Price for, how many innings did he throw that game?
I think like 2 1/3.
So I threw pitch for pitch with Price for about an inning and a third, inning and 2/3. And it's just like, what are we doing, guys? And Coach Calvey loves to tell this story. He said before Witt got hit, we'd all come down from the bullpen. So we were in the dugout, and we were trying all the rally things.
Right.
We'd stack the hat, we'd turn the hats inside out. So if you notice the dog pile, or right before, you see a bunch of guys.
The pants are up.
Yeah,
right.
The pants are up, and their socks are down.
Yeah.
So, because we were just trying anything.
Right.
And I was one of those guys. And Coach Calvey, so the game ends, everything, and we get back to the hotel. So the hotel situation was me and Neff, Coach Calvey's family, him, and then Coop was on the other side. I forget who Coop roomed with. And we got back, and me and Coop just went and sat down in Coach Calvey's hotel room and just –
right.
Just big exhale. And Coach Calvey said something to the effect that I was going in, had that gone the next inning. I was like, bullshit. I'm sitting in the dugout with my pants around my, my socks around my ankles, my pants up above my knee. There's no way I was about to go into a game. But yeah, it's just, it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
No, I mean, the Oklahoma, both games, just nail biters. The only easy game I remember out there was Arizona State.
And which is so ironic because they're the number 1 seed in the country, and y'all smacked them.
Felt bad for those boys.
It was like 8-0 to start the game or something like that.
I mean, it was
a shellacking. And you had Dyson on the mound.
Who was good again.
Yeah.
Dyson, he had his ups and downs that year, but that dude found it
right
towards the end of the season, and that guy was lights out from there on out. Arizona State caught a bad one that tournament because they lost to Clemson, and then they had to get us, and they caught a pissed off team because we'd just been at the ballpark for 12 hours. We lost. They caught a pissed off bunch of Gamecocks that day.
For sure. Well, good times, man. Hey, a lot of fun
as
always. As always, a lot of fun. We'll do it again. Appreciate you guys tuning in. He's Ethan Carter. I'm Chris Phillips. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much.